January 14th, 2019 board discussion meeting. We'll begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And officially welcome our newest member, Barry Clancy. Welcome to the team. I think you'll find it exhausting and fun and fulfilling, as I think we all do. And sometimes a little nerve-wracking. We'll begin our meeting. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? If not, we've already did our oaths of office. We'll move on to the election of board president and nominations. And I just want to say it's been my honor and privilege to serve as president for the past 3 years. But I do, with things going on in my job right now, be able to fulfill those duties to the best of my ability. I will not be able to. So I would like to nominate Mrs. Aprisco for president. At least she has both the time and the experience to fulfill that role. So I would like to officially make that nomination.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion?
You should ask for any other nomination.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, if not, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Classy?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez, yes. Mrs. O'Frisco?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes. So at this time, then, I will pass that gavel over to you. I did enjoy banging that down, so if you're ever missing, I'll get to do it again.
I will be willing to share, Mr. Maletta, I promise. I'd like to thank you, and I'm very honored to be voted in as president. I'm excited to get to work with the exemplary, innovative superintendent, Dr. Alanaz, and I'm looking forward to working as a team with this school board. And let's get to work, let's start doing our homework, and let's fulfill our strategic plan. And together we can all excel. So thank you again, I appreciate it. So with that being said, we need to have an election of the vice president. I would like to nominate Mr. Maletta. I think he's done an excellent job for 3 years as president. Do we have a second? Discussion? Do we have any other nominations? With that being said, would you please call the roll, Mrs.
Ms. Classy?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez, yes. Mrs. O'Frisco?
Yes.
And Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Next, we'll move on to nomination for board secretary.
I'd like to nominate Wilma Vasquez for board secretary.
Second. Do we have any discussion? Any other nominations? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Classy?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez, yes. Mrs. O'Frisco?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to board appointments. School board attorney, I believe Mr. Elwood, you only want to put in your name this year.
I did. Nobody else wants it now.
No Ken Allen?
No, he's not good enough.
So with Raymond Elwood, we have to vote on this, correct?
Correct, there was a contract that was submitted, and to make note of it specifically, there was a proposed increase in the hourly rate. It's been $135 an hour for probably 15+ years, and I think I asked to increase it to $150 an hour. So that's consistent with what the city of Portage has raised theirs to, and also Porter County by normal hourly. Ken Allen's normal hourly rate is by 400.
So can you make sure we get a contract? Or
Yeah, is that posted anywhere?
It's being reviewed.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
it's being reviewed with Attorney Boyce.
okay. All right.
But we can still make that appointment.
You can still make the appointment and then approve the, I thought the contract was on the agenda, I apologize. So just make the appointment and then it'll be at the 135.
Yeah, so
Big deal.
drag your feet.
Take as long as you can.
Keep it busy.
Okay, so we have, make a motion then for Raymond Elwood to be our school board attorney. For a second,
I'll second that.
discussion. I think that, I'd like to say a couple things. I've worked with, this is my second school board attorney, and I wanna say Raymond Elwood, and typically we do have Mr. Elwood here, however, we have had others, have done an excellent job. And you get back right away, you do answer our questions, and you, protect us from things that we might, fall privy to, and I know that you do also protect the district, you do have, kids in the district, and you care about Portage Township Schools, and that makes a big difference. And you live in the community, you have a business here also. And, with that fee of $125 and possibly increasing to $150, Mr. Elwood doesn't always, do everything, school board related. He has, others that also do it with a lesser fee. So I'm assuming we'll see
Yes.
all of those fees then
Yes.
come through, correct?
Yes. Thank you, it's a privilege.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Call the roll, please, Madam Secretary.
Ms. Clancy?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez, yes. Mrs. Prisco?
Yes.
Mr. Maleta?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to the school physician. Dr. Elenez, do you have a recommendation for the school physician?
Yes, at this point in time, I would like to recommend Dr. Ostrowski to continue. He has agreed also to uphold this position in the event that the board so chooses.
So do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve Dr. Ostrowski as the school board physician.
Second?
Discussion? Can you explain that title? I believe it's more of an honorary title since I've been on the board.
Yes, that is accurate. Yes, it is an honorary title.
And then what will that individual do if we do need them?
In the event that we need him, he will consult with the district to include any opportunities that we have moving forward to partner with and, what he does when and different things that he can advise us on. And of course, him also being a partner with North Shore is helpful as well.
Is that an annual salary cap contract, or is it?
It is
based
not.
on hourly?
Yes.
We've never paid.
Never, no.
Never used it.
No. It's just statute. Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clancy?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez, yes. Mr. Maleta?
Yes.
And Mrs. Prisco?
Yes. And with the corporation treasurer, Dr. Elenez, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, my recommendation is for Mr. Nicholas Grant, who is our Chief Financial Officer.
I'll make a motion to approve Nick Ron as the corporate treasurer.
Second. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clancy?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez, yes. Mr. Maleta?
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco?
Yes. And the corporation purchasing agent will be the same individual?
The purchasing agent is Ms. Maria Bravo, our Assistant Director.
I'll make a motion to approve Maria Bravo as the purchasing agent.
Second?
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clancy?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez, yes. Mr. Maleta?
Yes.
And Mrs. Prisco?
Yes. And next, we need to make an appointment for the park department, park board. This is a statutory requirement. With that being said, Mr. Maleta, you've been on the park board how long? Or
4 years.
4 years. So I think you've done a great job for informing us what's going on in the park department. So I would like to nominate Mr. Maleta.
Second?
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clancy?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez, yes. Mr. Maleta?
Yes.
And Mrs. Prisco?
Yes. And the PTEF representative, Mrs. Vasquez, Ms. Vasquez, I'd like to go on that. You've shown interest before, and I think you would do a great job with that. So with that being said, I'd like to make the motion for Ms. Vasquez to go on as our Portage Township Schools Board's PTEF representative.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clancy?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez, yes. Mr. Maleta?
Yes.
And Mrs. Prisco?
Yes. With the redevelopment commission, that is something that is also state statute. That is something that is a mayor's appointment. And, I would request maybe if, Dr. Elenez, if you could, reach out and see if he has an appointment that he would like, an individual. So we could follow through with that.
And that's a non-voting position on that board too.
You're absolutely right, that is a non-voting position, but however, I do expect legislation, as it has been the last 2 years, to potentially at least be brought forward to make that a voting, because it's very important that, in time, redevelopment commission, gives tax abatements in the TIF district, it negatively affects the Portage Township School Board's budget. So, it's something that we should have a vote on, I believe. Next, we'll move on to committees, and those do not have to be voted on, correct? I can just appoint.
That's correct.
I do not have those in front of me right now, but I do know that Mrs. Vasquez, you would like to stay on the wellness committee. You've done a great job with that. And then you would also like to, PTF, which is voted on, and then Mr. Maleta, you've requested to remain on the budget in the buildings and grounds.
Yes.
And I would like to stay on the policy, and I believe we all agree to combine the policy with the board calendar because they do intermingle, and I would like to leave that blank, that position blank for potentially the new board members. And then, Ms. Clancy, I know that you've asked interest, and I've discussed it with you to be part of the budget with Mr. Maleta. Missing one?
Curriculum, or we're not doing curriculum.
Yeah, do we-
I think you got them all.
Yeah.
Both. Yeah,
Oh, well, finance budget.
Finance is budget.
Yes, I think we're good.
I think that's it.
And just to clarify, the direction then for curriculum moving forward would always be done in the format of a public work session, because it's just so crucial that, I know that Mrs. Vasquez had mentioned when we had our last curriculum, committee, it was approximately a 3-hour meeting, and the board had expressed that that was something that they felt, everyone would benefit from having firsthand knowledge of, so that will just be a focus in everything.
And thank you for reminding me, because with that being said, these are all public meetings and public work
Yes.
sessions, and I would definitely recommend as many board members to attend, any or all of them if they could. And there will be meeting minutes also if you can't. Okay, next we'll move on to board development. Why Mrs. Langren is setting up, Ms. Clancy had explained to you, I'm the legislative liaison for the federal level and the state level. And right now, especially at the state level, there's approximately over 100 education bills that's been introduced. About 2 handfuls have the potential of getting passed. But what we do here with the federal flash, this is at the federal level, and it's a huge impact with our Title I, Title II, and Title III and other funding that we have. So this keeps us abreast of what's going on at the federal level.
Do you want to review 2018 and do the K through 12, 2018, or do you want to do the new one with the senator?
Can we do both? Because I just think it's important to do both, yeah.
Welcome back to Federal Flash. I'm Lindsay Porkin, and I'm joined by Ann Heisler. 2018 is coming to a close, and 2019 will be here before you know it. On today's Federal Flash, we'll review 10 things, both good and bad, that happened in federal K-12 policy over the past year. We'll start with our least favorite items for the year, but to be very clear, these items are not in order of importance. Ann, why don't you start us off?
Will do, Lindsay. Starting off our list are several actions taken by the U.S. Department of Education. Number 10. Early in the year, the department announced that it would no longer investigate civil rights complaints from transgender students regarding the use of bathrooms that match their gender identity. Later in the year, the department put on hold for 2 years a regulation issued under the Obama administration intended to address inequities in the identification and discipline of students with disabilities based on race. This is number 9 on our list. The department is also considering reversing guidance to address discriminatory discipline practice over the objection of 11 state attorneys general, as well as equity advocates nationwide, and may do so by the end of the year. Number 8 on our list is yet another policy change made by the Trump administration to curtail the Office for Civil Rights. In July, the Department of Education and Justice rescinded guidance to achieve diversity and reduce racial isolation that was originally issued under President Obama.
But it's not all bad news. For our lucky number 7, the department reversed course in a positive way in one area of civil rights policy. After initially modifying its protocols to allow civil rights investigators to dismiss multiple complaints filed by the same individual or organization, the Office for Civil Rights revised its policy on this issue, referred to as mass filers. Number 6 is an issue you've heard about several times on Federal Flash, DACA. Although the Trump administration tried to end the program, courts have kept the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program on life support. Undocumented individuals who have been able to use the program to gain temporary legal status may continue to renew their status for now, but the fate of DACA is far from certain without a permanent legislative solution. Speaking of solutions, or at least an attempt to help, we have number 5. In response to the horrific mass shooting in Parkland, Florida, Congress provided $1.1 billion for student support and academic enrichment grants, also known as Title IV. This is a $700 million increase over the prior year. These funds can be used for a variety of purposes, ranging from increasing access to rigorous coursework to school safety and mental health services.
Number 4 on our list also comes from Congress. Both the House and the Senate have held oversight hearings regarding the implementation of the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA. The Alliance for Excellent Education issued an analysis in conjunction with one of these hearings, raising concerns regarding how states are including historically underserved students in their accountability systems. Speaking of ESSA, we move to number 3. The department completed its review and approval of all state ESSA plans, though as we just reviewed, not without concern over some of the decisions that were made. Number 2 on our list is a definite good news story. Congress provided funding for the Department of Education on time for the first time in years. This means the prospect of an impending partial government shutdown will not include the Department of Education, though it would include several other agencies, such as the Departments of Homeland Security and Justice.
We reached number 1 on our year in review, passage of the Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act, which revised the Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Act. This updated version of Perkins placed a stronger emphasis on equity as well as dual enrollment in work-based learning. For information on the new law, including fact sheets and videos, visit www.allforag.org/Perkins. So that's it for our 2018 Top 10 list. Keep an eye out for our What to Look For in 2019 video in early January. In the meantime, from all of us here at the Alliance for Excellent Education, have a wonderful holiday season.
Welcome back to Federal Flash. I'm Philip Lovell, and I'm joined by Dr. Alana Collin. Federal K-12 policy has been a bit slow over the past few weeks. From the last week before many take off for the holiday, there have been some important developments. Senator Lamar Alexander, the chair of the Senate Education Committee, announced he will not be seeking re-election. Also, the Trump administration's Commission on School Safety released its final report. First, Monica, tell us about Chairman Alexander's announcement.
Happy to. Thank you, Philip. Senator Lamar Alexander, chairman of the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, also known as the Health Committee, announced he will not seek re-election in 2020. Senator Lamar Alexander has dedicated much of his long career in public service to education. As governor of Tennessee, he led the state to become the first in the nation to base teacher pay on teacher performance. He then became president of the University of Tennessee before being appointed to serve as U.S. Secretary of Education under the late President George H.W. Bush. Alexander was elected to the Senate in 2002 and became chairman of the Health Committee in 2015. Under his leadership, Congress passed the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA, which replaced the No Child Left Behind Act.
Chairman Alexander is known as a serious bipartisan negotiator. So much so that he stepped down from his leadership position in the Senate back in 2011 so he could concentrate more on legislating. ESSA was undoubtedly one of Alexander's most important legislative accomplishments, the result of many hours of work and bipartisan compromise, in particular with his counterpart on the Education Committee, Senator Patty Murray. In the words of President Obama, ESSA was a Christmas miracle. In Chairman Alexander's remaining 2 years in the Senate, all eyes are on the possibility of yet another miracle, the reauthorization of the Higher Education Act. There are a ton of issues to be dealt with. Student loans, for-profit colleges, college costs, higher mediation rates, the list goes on, and the clock is ticking. We'll keep you posted.
Also this week, the Federal Commission on School Safety released its final report. President Trump established a 4-member commission after the tragic shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in February, which was tasked with studying and recommending ways to make our nation's schools more secure. Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos chaired the commission and said, quote, "Through the commission's work, it has become even clearer there is no single policy that will make our schools safer. What will work for schools in Montana will be different than what will work for schools in Manhattan." Critics argue that the nearly 200-page report leaves the gun lobby more secure than the nation's classrooms. Senator Murray, the leading Democrat on the Senate Education Committee, said, quote, "The gun industry itself could not have written a more blatant and obvious distraction from the real problem gun violence poses to students across our country."
One of the most contentious items in the report is its recommendation to rescind guidance issued under the Obama administration to address discriminatory discipline practices. The report argues that the Obama guidance, quote, "creates a chilling effect on classroom teachers and administrators' use of discipline by improperly imposing a forceful federal role in what is inherently a local issue." The report did not include a clear explanation for how rescinding the guidance would effectively reduce discriminatory discipline practices. In fact, while the report responded to some of the arguments in favor of maintaining the guidance, it failed to make any mention of a recent report from the Government Accountability Office, which found that, quote, "Black students, boys, and those with disabilities were disproportionately disciplined regardless of type of discipline, level of school poverty, or type of school." The GAO report notes that African American students represent less than 16% of public school students, but account for 39% of students suspended from school, an overrepresentation of 23 percentage points. The issue of discriminatory school discipline practices is likely to be a subject of oversight hearings in the House of Representatives in the year. That's all for now and for the year. We'll see you on our next episode of Federal Flash in 2019. Thanks for watching. Happy holidays.
I did forward the school board and the superintendent the new school safety commission report in its numerous pages. I forwarded that to you? No. Could we make sure that Ms. Clancy gets a copy of that? It's important to, so please look at the beginning of that. With the new safety commission, I just want to bring out a couple of things that have changed. After 2 years of speculation, Education Secretary Betsy DeVos acts the guidelines, as you just heard up there, by the Obama administration that directed districts to reduce racial disparities in how they discipline children or students. What does it mean? One former Justice Department official called DeVos's action as a terrible mistake. The Washington Post editorial board described the Federal School Safety Commission she chaired as going after black children instead of the NRA. Others lauded her decision, including the Wall Street Journal editorial board, some school districts from Cleveland, Erie, Pennsylvania, and others say they are staying the course. They're not going to change. Go back. A couple things at the state level, and like I said, they just got back down state, but once again, there will approximately be over 100 education bills. Not all of them will make it to be passed, but I have been keeping you abreast on the important ones that would possibly have a positive or a negative effect. Portage Township Schools, in one, for example, is that there is a first draft of the budget, and I've sent that to you with Governor Holcomb, putting in his suggestions on how he'd like to divvy up the money for the state for the next 2 years. And once again, we are on a biannual budget. We get our budget every 2 years. As we expected, it was small for education. K through 12 schools overall will see an increase under the governor's budget, but nothing specific set aside for teachers. With that being said, there is discussion with, in legislation that is being proposed to increase teacher pay. But how that will work is it's going to be a 85-15% calculation, which I, as a school board member, have seen before when Dr. Bennett was state superintendent. What that means is that any school district who utilizes their total budget, and if they have over 85% does not go to student instruction, you will be flagged, you'll be notified, it'll be public record. And if you do not decrease the 15%, which is for administrators, or have it within that 15%, if it's over 15%, you will be flagged, I guess, is another way of looking at it. And so what they're saying is that you would not then be giving any money if the state does relinquish any funds for teachers, increased teachers' pay. That was something that I've seen before, is this type of report, and they have all of these numbers with every school district across the state of Indiana, what exactly we put into administrators and what exactly we put into the classroom. And if I'm not mistaken, years ago when I looked, I believe we were over that 85% threshold. So that is something that I think that the board would like to have that in numbers.
Yes, and with that, you had shared that bill with us. I have started to compile that very information with our business office to make sure that we have accurate information for you, and also looking at the changes in how we're calculating now that we've just got operational fund and instructional fund. Moving forward, that will be an easier task to kind of see what those percentages are on a rolling basis. But you're absolutely correct in the fact that we are above that threshold. More than 85% of our budget is utilized for instructional purposes, but I will absolutely have that data for you.
And then I do know, looking backwards, that, there was the question that the board had, maybe Mr. Elwood or Dr. Allen, as you can help us understand that also, is who's actually classified in that category, what individuals. And it'd be nice if we had a flow chart of all employees and groups, and, maybe with a red line or some kind of line, above this, these are considered that 15% or less than the 15%. I think that would be easier reading something like that. Any questions about anything legislative that's actually happening? It'll be, now at the state level, it will be a lot of things that are going on there. And just so you know, as a legislative liaison, and that was something I think we might have forgot, I will be the legislative liaison. I volunteered to be on that again. And as you're all aware, it is a lot of work too. So they are actually the Indiana School Board Association now has a legislative liaison group, committee possibly, if you want to call it. They have been sending us information. There was a webinar that I did attend. They do send additional bills and information also, and sometime in February, they're gonna have what's considered the school board at the State House, where you can go down and we will actually go to the State House and meet with legislatures and have them discuss bills, and we can discuss our, either if we're for it or against it. And then also they have asked if we do have a passion, or if there's a bill specifically that comes up that we think that we have a little bit more expertise. They even said that they would request that we go down and speak in front of committees, which I thought was very nice, because the Indiana School Board Association has always done that independently of school boards, and they've separated us a little bit from that, and now they're seeing that the importance of our voice, as opposed to the single voice of maybe 8 employees of the ISBA, as opposed to the, almost 500 school districts across the state of Indiana's voice. So it's a grassroots, newer concept. Other states do it, and I commend them for putting that on. And I think that anybody who does then, if we want to be the legislative liaison, the ISBA now has a good template of what you need to do and how to follow through with that. Next, we'll move on to old business, the advanced imaging update. Dr. Alanis, do you have any update on this?
At this point in time, I just want to mention to the board that we are continuing to work through that. Mr. Lesich and his team have been working with two other vendors. I know he's working with, for instance, COTG, who's coming in and really kind of auditing what we have in place so that we can make sure that we have the best competitive pricing to move forward. So I do appreciate your patience with this. I think that making sure we're doing our diligence with this contract and recommendations that we bring before you is something that is an ongoing process. So we'll continue to keep you apprised as more information comes about. I do know that they were going to need about 4 days to go through everything before being able to make any recommendations. Also, another vendor who services the machines that we do have, Mr. Lesich has reached out. At this point in time, we haven't heard back. But again, looking at taking this entire process out to bid. Again, we've been working closely, and Mr. Lesich and I met right before the holidays with Attorney Elwood to see what that can look like, and also, you know, is it a matter of buying back the machines and bringing in the different vendors and whatever that may look like, just so we can have a full scope of analyzing this appropriately.
So, what has happened in the past is that this board has found that with our copier machines, obviously with numerous buildings in 11 schools and numerous copy machines throughout, it kind of got a little bit away from us. And we have a threshold, the state says that anything over 50,000 has to be bid out. So we found that, I believe they were possibly piecemealing contracts where we didn't have to bid out. And we know that as a district, if we were to bid something like that out, it would be close to $1 million, because that's what it was in the past. And we would have a lot of buying power, and we would look at other potential people, and they would give us their best price. So we said, let's go back, let's see how many contracts we have, let's see how many are we renting, what do we own, what's going on, who utilizes what, let's try to save the trees, you know, all of this good stuff. So this has been a work in process, and this is where we're at, and I think it's gonna be best for the taxpayers and also for the Portage Township Schools to look at this as one big purchasing as opposed to numerous. And then you find that you have printers everywhere or copiers everywhere that you might not need.
And it
So we
has
don't have a
been,
scope.
it's been a great opportunity with Mr. Lesich and his team. They physically walked to every printer in the district and have made some recommendations of where some should be relocated to or just completely taken off the network. So there's been a drastic streamlining of that process for quite some time now, but even more so as they're digging further.
So we're still in the inventory and the discovery stage of it. And so I would imagine that everything does have some kind of a bar scan code, like the computers do, that, so that's some kind of report that they can press a button and at any point see exactly what we have anywhere in the district, which would be nice to see that in report too, once it's finished. I'd like to see that.
I have a question. Are the teachers or administrators going to have any input on any of this? They're the ones that are using it, and which one's more efficient and effective?
There's been a lot of data analysis going into this. For instance, Mr. Lesich was looking at, there are some machines that don't have, you know, there was a machine in the district that may have printed 30 copies in an entire school year. So it wasn't the best use of a machine. So, you know, if that was a machine that was either taken off the network or put into a location where there was a higher volume, that could kind of save the life of that machine if we added this one as well. There's been all sorts of things, and I will tell you that through our association discussions about the paper use, the amount of copies, the ink, they have been completely kept in the loop as to making these determinations and the thought process behind them. You know, of course, everyone naturally wants a machine right at their doorstep, but as we work collaboratively to determine the best placement of machines, they've been understanding of what we're trying to do.
actually started all this is that, the board had seen, overages for our, printers, and it was a high dollar amount, and we're like, wait a minute, you know, what does our contract say? How can we get overages? I don't remember a contract coming up, which we should, and then this is why one didn't come up, because it were little bits and pieces. And if I was a vendor, I would definitely try to get into a school district like this and do it that way, you know, if I was a vendor. So, you know, you take a printer like she says, where there's, you know, maybe 30 copies, you know, that's under, but we don't get those extra, you know, to go to another one. It's just the overages, it's kind of like your data, you know, you don't get to, that's when home carriers let you carry that over. So that was an issue that we definitely wanted to address, because it's costly to go over. Any other questions? Next, we'll move on to new business, and we'll start with the bid opening for the E-rate. And Mr. Elwood, your name is on that, and our policy 6320, so I would like you to please explain the bid process and how we went about doing that, and your part in that, please.
Since my name's on there, I'm glad you guys retained me. So the E-rate is and Dave can answer more specific message, but it's a federal government process to help us fund the E-rate equipment and service, basically the internet system, is that right? So pursuant to policy 6320, the bids were submitted to me via email. There was one exception that was submitted hard copy, but they followed it up with an email within the time frame that was required. And so the federal government helps us, and actually our consultant helps us to draft the specifications, and then they're hosted on the federal government website. And so they actually find out through a process that we are opening an E-rate, and all the school districts do it at basically the same time. There's statutory requirements as to when you open it, when you purchase it, and federal government requirements. And so we got several responses, so what I'd like to do is to read the names of those companies that responded. A lot of times in the construction project, we can actually read the price. That's not possible here because Dave's gonna have to spend some time, and he'll do a summary sheet of each bid and summarize the pricing for you, and then come back to you. We'll ask today that you guys take it under advisement, and then we'll bring back to you a summary sheet and ask you to award one of the proposals.
So with that being said, E-rate, there's, you know, obviously the taxpayers, that's an acronym, we'll understand that. So Dr. Alanes, would you explain E-rate? And I know, like he said, it is a federal statute, and this is federal guidelines, and it's a buying power at the federal level, more for technology.
It is. This is for the Universal Service of Schools and Libraries program. It's known as E-rate, and it provides discounts to eligible school districts in the United States so that we can have affordable access to internet and technology. We are typically paying approximately 20% of retail price for items that otherwise we would obviously be paying the full fees for. So it allows us the opportunity to have a higher discount for those items, and then of course follow those federal guidelines for acceptable use and proper inventory, and just making sure that those are meeting the needs of our students.
So to preserve the bidding and proposal process, these were, once I received them, I placed them into a PTS bid subcategory, and I have not opened them until today. I opened them briefly just to read the names. So the first one, through permission, is submitted by Anna Dunn with NITCO. There are 3 PDF attachments. She references our RFP number with the federal government. The next one is Josh Howell, who is with Unite Private Networks. Same reference number on our E-rate application or request for proposal number. There are 2 attachments. Next is MetroNet, they have submitted an E-rate proposal under this, again, the same number, 2 attachments. And they reference themselves as a carrier / wholesale manager. And I'm sorry, the previous one was submitted by Josh Howe with NITCO, with UPN. This one is Bart Saunders, and just for the record, that's the company that submitted a hard copy as well, MetroNet. Next, you have Zayo, Z-A-Y-O Group proposal. Same reference number, there's 1 attachment. They have submitted it through a Jace Nilsson. Next is Michael Bensick, B-E-N-C-I-C. That is from Comcast Business Services. 2 attachments. They reference Form 470, which is the actual form reference that has our specifications on there. And the next is Gene Carusi, C-R-U-S-I-E, and that is for Surf Air Wireless LLC. 2 attachments. Next is John Leal. They are with Vero Fiber Networks LLC. There's 1 attachment. And finally, WANRAX proposal, capital W, capital A, capital N, and then RAX proposal. That is submitted by Blake Mayfield. They have submitted a video and also a final Portage Township proposal. So I will do what I have done in the past and email these directly before the evening's over to Dave Lesage, who again will summarize them. So at this time, if there's no questions, I would ask you to take these bids / proposals under advisement.
So do we have a motion to take the following bids under advisement for E-rate, NITCO, UPN, United Private Network, MetroNet, Zayo Group, Comcast, Surf Air Wireless, is it Vero Fiber Network, V-E-R-O?
Yes.
Okay. WANRAX, with the board stating that the superintendent, along with the attorney, will take them under advisement, and she will give those to any her staff members to analyze them, and then she will come back with us with a recommendation of one that she'd like to move forward with.
I'll make that motion as stated.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Is there a timeline on how long you think that'll take, or is there deadlines gotta be done by?
I believe we'll bring them back for the regular meeting in 2 weeks, 28th.
Oh, so-
Dave's crossing his fingers.
Okay, good.
That would be the goal. Certainly no later than the discussion meeting in February.
Ms. Consi?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez, yes. Mr. Valera?
Yes.
Mrs. Christian?
Yes. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the ratification of the elevation agreement. Superintendent Alanes, this is in alignment with our policy 6320.
It is. We are looking to renew our agreement with Elevation. This is the software program that provides support to our English language learners, to include their individual learning plans, parent letters, the monitoring, and also the federal reporting requirements. Elevation partners with Power School, which allows us full integration into our student information system. And this expense is paid through the NESP grant, which is the non-English speaking program. And we're just looking to renew this and have it through the contractor process.
We have a motion, and a second first. We have a motion to Title IV acceptance. I'll make the motion to approve the Title IV grant exception. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion, Ms. Vasquez?
I have a question. The proficiency levels of the students, is there any time that you think it would be a good time to talk about proficiency levels of our ELL students and about how many we have? Or we could do it at a work session or we can push ourselves. But I know it was,
Okay.
just to get a better understanding of our services that we provide.
And I'm glad you you stated what NESP was, because that was one of my questions, I
yes.
didn't know. So this is a Title IV, so how does NESP fit into the Title IV grant?
This is not the Title IV grant, this is the grant, for the non-English speaking program. So this is just, this is paid through the NESP grant.
So do we need to, Mr. Elwood, do we need to change our motion?
I don't believe so, because the Title IV portion is the next agenda item. And I think you said it accurately, ratification of elevation.
Okay, so that's what I think I was confused. Okay,
Yes.
I get it, so. And then is there a report that we could see with the English language
Yes.
learner that the board would,
Absolutely.
would send us? I'd like to see that. Sure. Any other discussion? Call the roll, please, Madam Secretary.
Ms. Clancy?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez, yes. Mr. Maleta?
Yes.
And Mrs. McPherson?
Yes. And now next is the Title IV grant acceptance. Dr. Elenes.
The Department of Education approved the Title IV grant in the amount of $105,469.80. This is the second year that Portage Township Schools has been eligible to apply for this new funding stream that was created under ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act. As you know, or you may not, that this grant, the first year was a competitive grant, and Portage Township Schools did receive that grant in the amount of $100,000. And it is now changed to a formula grant for this year. Our grant was accepted to support our social emotional learning efforts, as well as to push our STEAM initiatives across the district to include the innovative learning labs and makerspaces, and also some STEAM camps that were proposed by Mr. DePasquale to take place for our students this summer at the elementary level at no cost to our students. So this is just accepting the grant in the amount of $105,469.80.
Make a motion to approve the Title IV grant acceptance.
Second?
Discussion, I have a question. With the funds that's gonna be used for the summer, for potential like field trips or whatever we're gonna do with that, is that gonna be a competitive selection with those students? Like it is like for robotics?
What we're looking at in this particular instance is identifying students who would benefit from this program due to their desire to pursue various STEAM opportunities. It is not something that is going to be based on their actual success in the classroom academic setting. It's not, looking at their grades or anything. It is looking at the level of interest and desire for students to attend.
So if there's more potential applicants and spots, how will those individual students be selected?
We will make sure to identify that, and I will share that with you of exactly how that will be determined, so that we can make sure that we have equity among our students for this opportunity. I'll make sure that that's shared. Because we've not begun to identify the students yet.
For the criteria, for
Correct.
identifying for the criteria. And I think that's important, especially when we're coming from a federal grant, that we make sure that we follow any guidelines that they have for selection as opposed to, and I would hope that it would be a broad-based committee and not just
Yes.
per school,
Yes.
per se. Any other questions, discussion?
The budget that we have in front of us, under property, the line item of property, there's a total of $21,000. What did that cover?
I'm sorry, where are you?
What
Budget
page?
amendment.
What page and
It's the second
paragraph?
one. It says request for amendment changes. There's only one page.
Oh.
The first page.
So which agenda, which
So the
attachment, there's
property-
three?
I can get further detail on that for you.
It's the one that's the amendment.
Oh,
Title
the
IV
amendment, okay.
It says, supplies $41,699, whatever. But that would, of course, be other technology that's.
Yes. I'm assuming that and again, I'm making the assumption that the property would be, the technology purchases could also be a part of that. But I will double check and make sure that,
So it may be just being just differentiated differentiated from the supplies.
So, Mr. Elwood, should we renege our motion and make a motion to approve the title grant acceptance with the qualifier that the superintendent gives the information back to the board?
That's fine. So whoever made the motion will withdraw it.
I withdraw my motion for the grant acceptance.
Who made the second? Mrs. Vasquez, can you withdraw your second?
I will withdraw my second, based on the fact that Dr. Allen is will more information about the line item that has properties, not of $21,000.
So can we make that into, that can be a motion?
Yes, motion to approve with that caveat.
Second.
Discussion? And you'll be able to get that to us then?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clausen?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez, yes. Mr. Maleta?
Yes.
Yes. Next, we'll move on to discussion of 2019-20 school year calendar. We do have that in place. Do we have a motion? Are we able to accept the final draft?
This is the final draft. We have, as it is a discussable item, we can discuss it. I've also worked very closely over the last month with the county superintendents to ensure that those dates that we hold sacred are being honored. And we will continue with the idea of having parent-teacher conferences for a second year in a row, K-12, on one of those e-learning days, as well as two for professional development for the entire staff.
Any motion?
I make the motion to approve the 2019-2020 school year calendar.
Second. I have a question. In the past, we have 7 school districts in Porter County, and typically we are in alignment of our calendars with those schools because we do all share, CTE, and we have a lot of the programs that are here. So then we can go, our students can go to other Porter County schools, they can come to us and to the actual CTE program. So that's when she stated that she has talked to other county schools.
Yes.
They are in alignment as much as possible. And then it is a discussable item with what's PAT, the Portage Association of Teachers. It's not something that's in their contract, but it is something that we can discuss.
Is there any discussion about, again, it's one of the things that you hear from parents a lot about the start date being so early. It seems like it was up earlier and earlier into August. Is there any discussion about that? 'Cause I've heard that from a lot of people last year with this year's calendar saying, man, we are just starting way too early, middle of August.
Well, I will tell you, one district started, in the county, one district started a week previous to all of us starting last fall. The one thing that we have continued to remain mindful of is the later that we start with standardized assessment, the other school districts throughout the state who are starting before us are getting a lot more opportunity to review previous learning as well as get involvement in the new learning for the school year prior to the standardized assessment. So we started to look at being favorable to a balancing between starting too soon and also not starting soon enough, so then there could potentially be districts in the state that start school 4 weeks ahead.
Well, a lot of them are on
quarter.
balanced calendars, start
Yeah.
August 1st.
Yes, yes. So, we've looked at some different things and trying to stay in alignment. We, looking for next, so not for 1920, but for 2021, we are looking at possibly pushing it back down because it's starting to creep back up again. So we did, this year, is very much in alignment with what we would be doing for next year. Again, trying to keep that balance of, also, a lot of families like to get out right before June, and this, again, keeps us there, where early June,
But I mean, even from financial heating and air, we're starting in the
Cost to
middle of
us.
August with air
Huge
conditioning
cost.
running where we
Yeah.
want a couple weeks into June. Usually the weather's, it's in the 70s still at that time, so it just feels like there's probably a bigger cost in starting this early too. That should be under consideration, especially as tight as funds are in schools.
yes, well, and that is something that, again, we continue to talk about at the county level. The one other factor that tends to come up frequently is the additional cost for transporting and making sure our students with individual education plans with special ed are being serviced properly, because if we have one district starting 2 weeks later than everyone else, now we have students that travel to Chesterton for the deaf and hard of hearing, or the blind and low vision in Morgan Township, and now if we've not started at the same time, it becomes problematic. So it is something I will tell you that has continued to be an ongoing conversation. Balanced calendar has been things that have come up at the county for that as well. But at this point in time, there hasn't been much traction with either of those items.
And with that being said, Mr. Maleta, this will be another year there, the bill is being introduced to have a statewide
Right.
later start in August, because of the exact same concerns that you said, that it costs the school district a lot of money to start school in August, and as opposed to, like you said, the first couple of weeks of June getting out. And then also the state as itself, as Commerce, loses a lot of money, because obviously, some of
The state fair happens the last week of August.
Right. And, the hotels are decreased, and you can't go to water parks, and, all those type of things when the beginning of June, like you said, it's relatively cooler. So there is a cost-benefit analysis, and with that being said, as we all know, state statute states that the students have to be in school 180 days.
Right.
So when that 180 days begin and end, it's just 1 year direct to fix that, and then moving
And it
forward.
certainly seems with state testing, the state ought to be on like a single calendar.
And I think part of the issue, if I'm, looking into the policy of it, the public policy of having a statewide start and end date, is that Indiana has numerous time zones.
Right.
And that's, kind of falls into that a little bit too, that's questionable, so.
But I will continue to make sure that remains a priority at the county level for consideration. And that's something the teachers will express as well. And quite honestly, support staff too, because they feel like the weather's a little more enjoyable in August rather than June. And so if they can make that balance, it's helpful to family time as well.
Any other questions or discussion? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clausen?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez, yes. Mr. Maleta?
Yes.
Mrs. Driscoll?
Yes. Next, we'll move on to the overnight field trips. We have 3 of them, and Mr. Elwood, I can name them all off, and we can make one motion, correct?
That's fine, yes.
Okay. We'll first start with the overnight field trip approval for the Portage High School gymnastics to Concordia Lutheran High School on January 18th and 19th. Then we'll move on to the overnight field trip again, the Portage High School to BPA State Championship, March 10th, 2019 to the March 12th in Indianapolis. The next overnight field trip approval is for Portage High School again to be in a parade in Philadelphia on November 30th, 2019 through December 1st, 2019. State policy states that we have to approve all overnight field trips. So with that being said, I'd like to have a motion for those 3.
Make a motion to approve the 3 field trips as written.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clancy?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez, yes. Mr. Maleta?
Yes.
Mrs. Driscoll?
Yes. And next we'll move on to superintendent reports and updates. Dr. Alanis, do you have any comments or
I do have a few
updates?
things, and then I do know our communications interns are here as well to share good news. The first thing I would like to mention is that we received our NIPSCO incentive program check today. I was able to pass that off to Mr. Braun in the amount of $12,843.10. I had asked Mr. Mavrovich to oversee a project with opportunities with NIPSCO for reimbursements for the project of Portage High School West renovation. So for our lighting changes, we have received a little over $12,000 in reimbursement. So that came today, and I thought that was some good news to share.
And then that money goes back into the general fund?
Yes, it does, yes. The other thing I shared below is the graduation rates. I have attached for you the 2018 graduation rates for the state of Indiana. I believe we're on around page 36. My goodness, now it's not going. But when you see that report, and I will pull it up as soon as I can, we priority pathways in the state of Indiana for our students to graduate, and I apologize, I'm trying to find it here.
It's easier to go 41, hit that 45, that's what I
Yeah.
said.
I'm doing. My computer's not. Here we go. Portage High School, 93.51%. That's our federal graduation rate as well as our state. So again, just a good opportunity to share the good graduation rates that take place in the school district and the opportunities provided for students in K-12 education.
So with that being said, across the state, then, because this is a statewide, we need to compare ourselves and toot our horn in this case. 88% of students graduated in the state of Indiana compared to 87% in 2017. So the state went up a percentage also. And then this is the first time that the federal ESSA has actually counted our school rate in there, correct?
Yes.
And then next year, or the rate, and then next year we would just have one. It'll be combined.
Just, yes.
Thank you. Do you have anything else besides, okay. And then, Mr. Stever, since we do have a new board member, if you don't mind just giving an overview of what you've been doing, which is a lot, and what your role is, and what the students' role are, and different programs that you brought to us. We appreciate it.
Welcome, Ms. Clancy. Ms. Clancy is a former student of mine, so I'm very excited to see her on the board. So serving as the communications director for the district, I've been working on a variety of projects, including obviously increasing communications to not just our parents, but to the entire community, as well through a variety of forms. We have started a district newsletter, staff newsletter. We've been using a new program called Peach Jar to send flyers, newsletters, calendars, things like that home to all of our families. The great part about that is that our community organizations can use that as well. So right now, for example, Boys and Girls Club has been using it. They've been extremely happy with it, and then a couple other community organizations as well have been using it. One of the great things that I love about my job is that we have public relations interns. It's a course approved through the Department of Education that's technically career exploration 2, and you can focus in on one career path, and so we're obviously focusing on public relations and marketing. So I have 5 students who work with me, and they primarily design graphics for Facebook, put together videos. They've been doing a lot of the work with the district newsletters, and they do a really awesome job for me, so they've been fantastic. Tonight I have Evan Gerke with me. He's one of our public relations interns, and he's been a student with me for a while. He is going to be going to Indiana University next year. He has been accepted, and he will be attending the IU Media School next year, so I'm very excited about that as well. So I will turn things over to him.
So as Stephen's already said, my name is Evan Gerke. I am a public relations intern, so I'm going to give you guys the good news report. The Portage Project Lead the Way program has received a grant to create a computer programming class at the high school. The grant money will be used to send the teacher to training this summer and purchase equipment needed for the class. Congratulations on the expansion of this great program. At Fagley Middle School, recently received $399 from the Get School Fall Attendance Challenge. Students at the school completed activities on the Get School website, and Fagley earned $1 for each point gained. At Ellsworth Elementary, the Kindness Club delivered 18 handmade fleece blankets to the VNA in Northwest Indiana. These red, white, and blue blankets will be given to the VNA's hospice patients who are veterans of armed forces. Fagley Middle School finished their college and career readiness workshop last month. Nearly 20 students graduated from the program, which taught students about job skills, college admission requirements, and how to pay for higher education. The students will soon go on to a college visit. Congratulations to all the participants on putting a focus on their future. Portage Township Schools also participated in the Porter County Safe School Commission's school safety panel discussion. Dr. Allen has served on the panel, which discussed school safety concerns such as GUARD 911, Hero 911, One County, One Protocol, school safety specialists, and the importance of being prepared for a variety of school emergencies. All the superintendents encourage students and parents to report anything that they see that causes concern. Following the panel discussion, SHAPE presented Wake Up Call. The organization showed parents and educators how teens and young adults are concealing drug and alcohol use. The entire event was both helpful and informative. Congratulations to Portage High School senior Sonia Karova on being named a winner in Peach Star's Student Success Story Contest. The contest recognizes students who work with community organizations, and Sonia was honored for the She Can Tech workshops she's organizing with the Portage Boys and Girls Club. The Central Elementary School Student Council recently hosted a Homeward Pass fundraiser. As a result, they donated $755 to the Portage Exchange Club's Veterans Matter program. The Portage girls bowling team finished up with a perfect season last month. They won sectionals this past weekend as well, and will be competing this upcoming Saturday in Michigan City at regionals. Congratulations to the following bowlers who are advancing to regionals as individuals: Kayla Marr, Michaela Handon, Lauren Smith, and Julia Moore. Congratulations to the Portage High School MCJROTC drill team on their first place finish in the Armed Exhibition Platoon at the Purdue Black and Gold competition last month. The organization Sandy Hook Promise recently sent bracelets as a thank you to the students at Saylor Elementary. The school participated in the organization's Start With Hello campaign, which encourages students to make new friends in an effort to make all students feel included and deter bullying. The Portage High School Business Professionals of America competed at their regional meet last month and qualified 12 students for the state competition in March in Indianapolis. Congratulations to this awesome group. We also have 9 upcoming events. Come support the Portage High School Marching Band at the Parent Booster fundraiser at Texas Corral this Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. The Portage High School Science Olympiad is also hosting a fundraiser this Wednesday, all day at Five Guys in Portage. The next mobile marketplace is this Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. at Portage High School. Starting next month, the mobile marketplace will take place the second Thursday of each month. Thank you, as always, to the PHS National Honor Society and ROTC for volunteering. Next Monday, January 21st, will be an e-learning day for all students. Apple will be at Portage High School tomorrow to provide training on enhancing learning with iPads for our teachers. The 5th grade classes from throughout the district will come to the high school tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for a concert with the PHS Music Department. The PHS Orchestra will host their pre-contest concert on Tuesday, January 22nd at 7 p.m. And the PHS Band will host their Coffee House performance in the Commons on Wednesday, January 23rd at 4 p.m. Willow Creek Middle School will host their pre-contest concert on Thursday, January 23rd at 7 p.m. That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good job.
Congratulations on your acceptance to
Thank you.
IU.
Yeah.
Great job.
Congratulations. So, with this new marketing position that we have, we've always kind of said that we needed to toot our horn, and obviously, we really appreciate, you are tooting PTS's horn, and the students in their work and everything that they get to put into it, and everything that I would imagine the articles and everything is in there is generated by them with overseen by the adults. So we appreciate it, great job, and I know that there's new and exciting things to come, and we're looking forward to that. And thank you for tooting PTS's horn.
One thing I just want to mention as well, just something, as this position started out with our interns and under the direction of Mr. DeBerlawi, a lot of this was about the district regs and the opportunities to share the good things going on in Portage Township schools. Something that came out of this opportunity in the recent days, as we mourned the passing of one of our students last week, is the opportunity for the students to work through developing a portion on our webpage so that parents can go and analyze leading practices of how to talk to your child about grief, signs of grief, to assist them through difficult times in their life, whether it be through the loss of a peer or a loved one at home. And so that information was emailed out to all parents today, and I just again want to thank them because they took that initiative to embrace the needs of our students and that opportunity to communicate with the home so that parents could assist their children as well. It's just another layer of that department that was valuable opportunity to capitalize on, that was unexpected from putting that in place.
Does anybody else have anything, any comments or anything that's on the agenda?
I'd like to report that I also attended the Porter County School Safety Commission panel discussion on the 8th, which was last week. And some of the items that were discussed were the app on the phone for school safety, the one county, one protocol, a pilot program that's going to be implemented. Why are plans kept confidential was a very interesting discussion. Talked about the school safety specialists and their roles, and how else do we prepare, what do we prepare for, not, in addition to fire drills and tornado drills, and yes, our roles and their directors, and what are they expected to do. We also talked about, and Dr. Ellen, you talked about social media. Can you further explain about what you meant when you talked about more eyes and preventers?
Yes, the concept of the opportunities we have and the responsibility that we have to prevent any possible tragedy from occurring in the lives of our students, both outside of our walls of school as well as within the halls and in the classrooms. In particular, we discussed the challenge that when someone just has that gut feeling that a post, although maybe vague or otherwise something that's hard to interpret, but if that gut feeling just tells you something isn't right, the best thing to do as a parent, as a student, as a community member, is to just report it to the right individuals to investigate. That the opportunity to over-report is something that school districts are currently, Portage Township Schools included, we're currently embracing, because we're acknowledging that the reporting is that opportunity to prevent. And so no matter how small an incident may seem or how unclear, the reporting of that has a strong potential to save lives, to lessen the opportunity for harm, and to just be aware. I also spoke about the opportunity for all of us as stakeholders in the community, for our students and for all of us in general, to just make sure that we speak about these things with our neighbors, with our friends, with our children, so that they're also aware that, again, there's nothing that is too small to report. And the countless, probably undocumented, opportunities that people have saved lives and prevented tragedies because they're reporting. And that's something that that was analyzed as well by Mrs. Evers-Lowry, was that many school districts, again, Portage included, has had many reports that have increased throughout the years. And the reason for that is that people are being aware. If they hear something, if they say something, or if they hear something, they say something. If they see something, they say something. And so these opportunities to just simply make sure that we're preventing any possible misfortune or circumstance that could become unsafe is of top priority. And continuing to talk about see something, say something.
And our county was complimented highly from other counties, and we were embracing other ideas that you mentioned, being a host here at Portage School, at the high school. Thank you for that.
I heard a lot of good positive comments on it. I was unfortunately at a conflict and couldn't attend. Was it videotaped at all, or were portions of it
It was
videotaped?
not.
So the public could view that?
It was not. That was something that we actually, after the fact, had thought about as well. To archive, yes. However, what we had discussed was the opportunity to, there has been some interest to more or less take it to other districts as well. Portage hosting it for the entire county, there definitely was other districts in the audience as well. But just our opportunity to take it to other locations and then be mindful that even just a live stream of it, that can be archived. I will tell you that the way that the second portion, wake up call, that was not something that could be videoed from the outside, but moving forward, we'll make sure to have those things videoed. But one thing we did discuss was taking those list of questions and putting them into a frequently asked question document, so then that can be provided to all of our school districts. And in particular in Portage, our interns can work to make that not only something that is informative, but a graphic that can be sent out to each jar to all of our students, so that they have that same knowledge that was presented at.
I'd also like to thank Sheriff Reynolds for facilitating.
Absolutely. Yes, let them know that we do appreciate it, and I was not able to attend also, but I heard the same thing as Mr. Maleta, that it was really good, it was put on well, and very informative. With that being said, we'll move forward now to public comment form, and I do believe we did get one. If we could pass that on to Mr. Elwood, please.
I think we got two. The first one is Zach Garner, with the Portage Athletic Booster Club.
And with that being said, Mr. Garner, before you go up, I just want to make a statement that this board does welcome public input from our community. If anybody else would like to speak, there are forms there. If anybody could if you could fill that out and return it, we would be very happy. With that being said, we do have a policy on public comment. You will have to give your name and your address. If you do not need one to give your address, Mr. Elwood will look that up. If you're an employee, we need to know that, and what is your affiliation with Portage Township Schools, and if you're with a group, what is your group? So with our board policy 0167.3, there will be no discussion allowed of personnel, legal, executive content, including collective bargaining. That participation shall be permitted with the discretion of the presiding officer, the president. You will be recognized by the president. You only, once again, residents of Portage Township Schools will be allowed to permit. You will be limited to 3 minutes. Now that we do have a secretary, do you mind please passing the green apple? Madam Secretary, you're going to use that, okay? You cannot speak more than once on the same topic. All statements shall be directed once again to the president. You cannot address questions to board members specifically or the superintendent individually. It has to be related to the board as a whole. No personal attacks will be permitted. The president will be allowed to interrupt, warn, request to leave, and recess or adjourn if appropriate. Mr. Gardner, would you please come up and follow the policy? Thank you very much.
Kind of be afraid to speak.
None of those things went to me, so I'm totally fine with all that. Needs to be said no. I'm Zach Garner. I am with the Portage Athletic Booster Club. Thank you for having us come in again and speak about just the past year and how everything's been going. I've been in this position just a little over a year now. Last year I came in right at the end of November, and we were kind of working some things out and have done some things that we're pretty excited about, and we'll just let everyone know. The Portage Athletic Booster Club sponsors all the 22 athletic programs that are sponsored within the athletic department. And so we do that through funding, through a few different events throughout the year. We have a board. We meet on the second Monday, obviously tonight at 5:30 inside of Door M. So one of my board members took care of that tonight while we were in here today speaking. Just wanted to talk about some new things that we had coming up recently that's exciting. We've just launched on a soft launch right now, a new website called gobigred.itemorder.com. This will be a website basically focused more towards alumni, parents, students also if they want to go on there. And we'll have apparel on there that'll be in different size ranges and things in case you may not fit into that extra large that the school buys a million of. And so if you want to buy something bigger, nicer, something like this shirt that you have, or a coat or a hat, and if you want to get one of the nice logos that our different teams have. So every team has a little bit of a different logo and kind of makes everything a little unique. So we're starting to kind of put those on. We'll work through anything small issues during the spring this year, and our real hope is to make a big launch when February or fall comes in, not February, but fall this summer, to kind of really blow that out to the community and let everyone know what's going on. We've also we're in discussions with Aramark a little bit to try to do a group fundraiser training. I'm not sure if many people know, but our wrestling team currently does a concession stand at the Notre Dame games during the fall. They do that for every one of those games, all 6 or 7, depending on how many they have in a year, and they do fairly decent. There's been interest from other groups. The problem is you need about 30 to 60, depending on which size booth you have, to do that, and so we're trying to get a group bid where we can have multiple teams partner together to do those things to help raise funds for those. We also, this year, have officially got an annual gaming license. So any of our programs or teams that want to do 50-50 raffles or anything along those lines at any of the games that are going on, they're now able to do that underneath that actual gaming license through the Portage Athletic Booster Club, instead of not being illegal doing it. This last year, we've donated a little over $500 for our individual teams. This is mainly consists of like outings, whole sponsorships, individual banner sponsorships, and things like that. We bought a new shoot-away 10 series gun for basketball teams. This made me feel very old on why kids don't just run down and rebound the ball anymore, but whatever, I'm fine. Like, it was cool. 2 new pop-up style, these are like tailgate tents. There's a 10x10 and a 10x20. Thank you. If you guys have any other questions, I brought some forms for our upcoming cabin fever that's coming up. So if anybody's interested in coming to that, please, I'll leave them up here, or I'll leave them at the table for anyone to pick up.
And Mr. Garten?
Yes.
We do live stream this on YouTube,
Yeah.
and it's also archived, so you might have more of a population than just this listening to you. Can you please explain what cabin fever is?
No problem.
Give the date and give us some specifics.
Absolutely. Cabin Fever is our major fundraising event that we actually do for the athletic club. The date this year will be on March 9th. Cabin Fever is held at Woodland Park. This year we've added a happy hour at 6 p.m. and we've general admission starts at 7. This year, one of the kind of changes that we've done is we've filled the room with 40 tables this year that will be sold all as individual tables as reserved seating inside of the room. Those people that have a table or are being sponsored at a table will be able to access that VIP hour that will be coming sort of as a bonus for buying a table when coming in. Tables cost $350. Individual single tickets will be sold at the door and just a few weeks beforehand for $35 inside there. We also, one of the big things that we really wanted to promote this year is we are actually renting the upstairs of the Woodland Park, which is called the Sycamore Room. Well, Sycamore Room's downstairs, or maybe upstairs, one or the other. The upstairs room, and we're going to do some interactive fun games. So we have recently, one of the items that we've purchased was a SkyTrack golf simulator. And this will be for our golf team that actually can practice now indoors when it's raining and the weather is bad and they can't go outside and practice in some of those weather environments. So they'll be able to train indoors. And so what we'll do is we're going to bring that inside for Cabin Fever this year. We're going to do a longest drive at the actual event. And so people will be able to come up and drive into a net and see it on a video screen, and we'll have sort of a running tally all night long on a screen on different things that people are doing. So we've been able to kind of do those things for the teams, and we're really excited. Cabin Fever is a 21 and older only event. We have also multiple sponsorships available. Our community does a great job with providing us with free items and items to raffle off into auction at the event. And then we also have just general sponsorships for the food lines and for food. We've had local businesses donate amazing food to be able to feed all the people that are there. Last year we had in excess of around 400 people that were at the event. So it was really pretty spectacular. And I know a lot of you in the room had come before in the past, and we appreciate all of your guys' support. So hopefully we'll see you all again this year, and we're excited to have you. Anything else?
Yes, well, thank you very much, Mr. Gardner. We appreciate it, and why don't we do this, because January sounds like a very good month for you. This is the second time you've been to us in a January. How about if we just schedule you every January? You're gonna
I mean, listen, I
make
could
sure
just
that
get
can
sworn in.
happen.
Ken's got the phone today, right? Like, you know, I'm ready to go.
Can we add that to our board plan? Yeah, Cabin Fever.
Boosters are doing a great job, by the way. You guys are doing fabulous work.
Just as a side note, over just this last year, we've been able to donate over $16,000 worth of equipment for our athletic department and just different items and things that they've been needing to help our athletic students inside the school. So if you have the ability to come, or if you know a business that would benefit from helping out, please come and grab one of these and take one. And if any of you guys need one, my number Fred's number, everybody's number's on there, so, thank you guys.
And I echo that, the Booster Club is doing a great job, and, I hear a lot of great things, and like you said, when you're able to give $16,000 worth of equipment back. And Cabin Fever is Portage Township School's largest fundraiser that we do have, and it is always well attended, and it's kind of wall to wall. And you do a great job, so thank you, and thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you very much. We're hoping by opening that upstairs, it kind of helps out with the space inside, so.
Very exciting.
Teresa Buell, academic decathlon.
Hi, I'm here to request an approval for an overnight trip that is actually taking place in just about a month, February 8th through February 9th. I am a teacher at Portage High School, but I am not a general education teacher, so I can check if I work for Portage. But I am the academic decathlon coach, and it was my mistake that I did not have the incorporated into my.
When is the field trip?
It's February 8th, and it's overnight to the 9th at Purdue University.
So would January 28th, would you like to approve that? Okay, so can we make
That's
sure,
perfect. We'll
you
make
get-
sure it's on the
she'll let
agenda.
you know, there's a special form that you have to fill out, and you can get that to the superintendent, and then we'll make sure that that's on our agenda. And then, we haven't turned down the field trip yet. So, you're good.
We're all good.
No problem.
Thank you.
Do you have anybody else under other that would like to speak?